Bishop, I'm excited about our Servecast today. Last episode we almost diagnosed some heartaches of the soul, some issues that we may have as ministers, as pastors. And today, I believe we're going to discuss about how to help our soul. So what are some things we can look forward to in this episode?
It's one thing to know about the difficulties, but how to fix it. So if you'll pay attention today, you're going to understand about daily distractions, weekly diversions, quarterly disconnects, and annual abandonment. It's all about the soul, and you'll be better off by listening. Welcome to the Mississippi Servecast. Will, this is one of the great things that we're doing in the state to help move Mississippi forward. Tell us how we can understand and know and how to be a part of the Servecast.
Absolutely. So, yes, thank you for tuning in and joining, whether you're listening to us on Spotify or Amazon Music Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or if you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube. However, let me tell you, if you would click that like button, if you're watching it, leave a comment, let us know. It helps us to get more views. Right. It helps it to get spread more across the World Wide Web. So hope with the goal that we can reach more people for Jesus Christ. So like it, share it, text it out to your buddies, your friends, and maybe even those that you don't like so much. It'll help us all.
That's right. Well, and the comments helps us to know how to better help you. We've been talking about this situation of our lives, about our souls. How is your soul? And it's a very difficult discussion sometimes because we just get busy. And we have been busy the last little bit. Winterfest, then the women's conference, 2 state funerals all around the same time, and then now getting ready for our summer celebration, our men's conference coming up in April.
Girls Jamboree, Youth Camp, Junior Talent, Kids Fest. I probably need to stop. There's a whole bunch more I'll forget.
That's just the state, not including what the individual churches and local churches are doing.
Planning Vacation Bible School. That months of preparation.
Right. But pastors, we care about you and the ministers of this state. And because things get so busy, we have to really ask the question, how is your soul? Last episode, we talked about 5 areas that are unique to ministry by Kerry Newhoff, as he's talked about the pretend to have it all together, inability to find someone to talk to with your deepest needs, living for likes and comments. We want to have those big Facebook likes, and then having it be the pastor that does everything, and then the intensity of Sunday always coming at us.
Sunday's always coming.
Every 15 minutes is what I've said. It comes every 15 minutes. But how do we help our souls? Let me just ask you this. You and I have had many conversations, but in your time of ministry that God's given you, has anyone ever shared with you how to help your soul?
I think we get the classic Sunday school answer of, you just need to pray more. You need to read your Bible more. And that's the instinct answer I want to give, because that's I hate to say the placebo answer that we know, because Jesus is always the answer. But I know you've got some great things to share with us on strategically how to help our soul.
Right. Somehow we think we could just get to the next revival.
Yes.
The next prayer conference, next camp meeting, the greatest ministry, then we'll get charged up. But we have to realize that soul health is a journey, not a destination. It's not a one-time event that just grows us and, we've been totally sanctified and now we're on fire. It's a journey.
So it's not all about the shout.
Exactly right. And we love to shout. We are Pentecostal. Nothing wrong with that. But are we intentionally planning our soul? The statement that I love is that we don't work for God, we work from God.
Yes, that's great.
It's what the relationship we have with Him individually that helps us do the ability to work for Him. So we work from Him, not just for Him. I love this statement that I think Dr. Steve Hall said, that if you fail to plan for your soul, you plan to fail your soul.
Wow.
So we realize that if it's a journey, soul health is not a matter of trying harder. It's a matter of training better.
Absolutely.
So how do you train your soul?
Because it's easy to work harder, to think if I stay up later or if I get up early, if I put in more time, yes, sir, it's easy to want to work harder, but the training aspect, that's good, Bishop.
What kind of work are you putting into that harder? So it's training. And so we find that really repetition is the key. I think a lot of us have the same habits, that we get up in the morning, we see what the date is, we read a proverb for that day, and then we go through other Bible studies. But it's the repetition of what you do that gets you better. So I think the journey of the soul health is not just a one-time event, but it's the daily consistency of what we do to work from God, not just for God.
That's a good point. See it as a journey and not just a destination. I've shared in some of our youth trainings that to see it, like even our youth ministry, as a marathon instead of a 5K. That how marathon runners, they train their bodies, they're not full force all the time, but they have to see that it's a long distance. And seeing this as a journey, I think, will help us as ministers, instead of it's just a one-time shout at a camp meeting and I'm fixed, but it is a journey that we're continually on.
Right. We talked about last time the depression that ministers go through, the oppression that we face. We want that one quick fix, but it doesn't happen that way. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It's not a 100-yard dash. It's continually running on. Paul put it this way: I beat my body into subjection.
Yes.
You know, if you want me to run more than 2 blocks, that's killing my body. Spiritually, though, it's a daily, consistent walk. Neuroscience tells us that it takes 10,000 repetitions to develop neural pathways. So that means if you divide 10,000 by 365, you have to practice whatever that is 27 times a day.
Good gracious.
Well, it tells you that for every one negative comment you hear, for one negative, it takes 11 positive comments to outdo that one. What does that mean about what's happening to our soul? So that means 27 times a day, we got to be consistent about this is what the Lord says about my soul and how I need to get to where I need to be. So really we look at it that soul health is an investment over the long time, not just a day trading thing, because God's speed is slow.
Yes.
Kind of like your retirement plan. It doesn't build up overnight. So I think we have some areas that we have to look at that will help us about our soul. A couple of things. I think there's 4 things, and we're going to give an opportunity, a resource for you to help you work through this. But I think there's 4 things that we need to deal with, how we do this consistently over time.
Yes.
The first one we need to talk about, if we really want to keep our souls healthy, is a daily distraction. A daily distraction. Now, the phone rings constantly here. The work that we do, it's not one of those things we just sit around twiddling our thumbs saying, well, what can we do? There's always something happening.
Yes.
So at the office, even here, we have to work on daily distractions. Either get up and walk around for 15 minutes, or you go shoot the bull with one another for a little bit to get there. What are some things that in your times of ministry that helped you, especially in the churches one was a small church that you went to, that you really worked extremely hard to try to get that growth, to distract yourself daily to get yourself
one thing that always really helped me, and I'll try not to break down and cry on this, but I always enjoyed when my family would come over by the church, whether it was about mid-morning or right after lunch. They would come by. Daisy and Sawyer was little, and they would be on their bicycles. I could hear them coming around my office and hear them little voices, and I'm going to tear up about it, but I was able to walk outside, see Lauren, Daisy, Sawyer, Bowser would be with them. We'd stand in the parking lot, and they would ride their bicycles, or then maybe we would walk down the road a little piece. I'd come back, and it was always a great reset to say, okay, all right, now where was I? And it was just fresh set of eyes and to get back on task.
Just a breath. It's
just
like,
a breath.
Can I just breathe? Mm-hmm. The second one that we work on is a weekly diversion. For Jean and I, we made sure we had a date, tried to have a date night. But when our kids were little, we couldn't necessarily have a date night. And then when the last church we pastored especially was very large, there was always things happening. So we took Friday as a date day, and they knew us it sounds crazy, but our date morning was Waffle House. Get the kids to school, we'd walk into the Waffle House, and we'd have that Fiesta omelet without tomatoes, double hash browns, and a waffle. Now I
sounds
can't
like
do
you
all
had
that now.
quite a few of those.
Well, yes, maybe a full gospel
there
preacher.
We go.
It was funny. We would walk in and we didn't even have to order. They would see us. There's your table. Here's your coffee. We know what you want. But that was our weekly diversion. And then we had time together, but also had to have it personally.
Yes.
So I had to have it with me and my wife, and then also personally. So I like to golf. Mm-hmm. I like to hunt, fish, but that's not always what soul health is about. It's not just a playtime, but it's that contemplative time with the Lord.
Yes.
During that week.
Yes.
Where it's not just studying for a message, it is studying the messenger.
Mm-hmm. That's very good. I always enjoyed cutting grass. I know that may sound strange to many of you listeners even, and don't call me to come cut your yard, okay? But I had a couple yards I would cut the church yard. I could put my earbuds in and just ride. I would listen to whether it be to sermons or podcasts, music, and just the repetition of back and forth. My mind could shut off, and I could just have that alone time with the Lord. Process. I would wind up processing my message, processing things at the church, processing things in life. It was my mind, physically I was on autopilot, but my mind was able just to work through a lot of things. And even sitting in the deer stand. Oh,
absolutely.
Gracious. I mean, it's so quiet, it's so peaceful, and just being able to, you have to sit there and be still.
Well, it is truly what we call a diversion.
Yes.
It diverts you from the mundane and the minutia sometimes, I hate to put it in those terms, that we deal with in ministry. And we have to work through those slowly, time by time, moment by moment, and that diversion from there helps us to change. Then another one is the quarterly disconnect. Mm-hmm. That once a quarter, 2 or 3 days, you get away and say, okay, what's some planning for the rest of the quarter? So you do some planning, couple days, couple nights, but it's not just for planning purposes, but then it's for you and your wife to reconnect, and then also for you to have that time with the Lord on the quarterly basis.
Yes.
Where you walk through where you've been, but now, okay, Lord, what are you speaking to me through this moment, this time to move forward? Mm-hmm. The hard one that we get, most of them call it a vacation, but I call it annual abandonment.
That's a good terminology.
Where we plan that time to take up the slack from everything else. But this is not a quote-unquote vacation where you're with your family running around. This is an abandonment from all things to get you in a centered place back with the Lord.
Wow.
We think, well, if I could just have a week's vacation. We come back tired from the vacation. We need a vacation from the vacation.
Yes.
Especially if you're married to a wife like mine called Hurricane Jean. It's go, 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 go. And I'm saying, I want to stop.
Yes. And if you go vacation from Monday to Saturday, then you're thinking, well, I've got church I've got to do. Come Sunday, I've got things I've got to. So your mind is really not focused on what you're doing or the relaxation that you're supposed to be getting. And the vacation after vacation, to get back to the office after a vacation,
Right.
of riding the rides or
Right.
doing this and that, and just to go, come back to work to
Right.
rest.
So I think the vacation aspect is for your family and rejuvenation. And yes, you get some rest, but there comes a time on an annual basis that you need to take for your soul. 3 days, 4 days, whatever you can get. And I know bivocational pastors makes it tough, but there are ways to work around those areas in ways that we learned how to take
Yes.
vacations and how to take annual breaks to where you have a true Sunday off.
Mm-hmm.
And the church will work with you on that. And if you think they won't, talk to me as the overseer and I'll talk to the church. You need that time. But I'm talking on the annual abandonment, I'm talking about time with you and the Lord. You
Yes.
feel like you become a monk almost. I would say don't go to a monastery. That'll wear you slap out. But there comes that annual time when you need to sit back and just breathe the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that we're going to put on for you is a soul health plan. And this soul health plan will walk through exercises for you to help with daily, weekly, monthly, and annually, and practices that you can do to put in there. I love the term practice.
Yes.
Because practice makes perfect, but it's not just it has to be perfect practice makes perfect.
Yes. Yes.
If you practice wrong the whole time, then you're going to be wrong with what your practice is.
You practice the way you're going to perform.
That's right. And with this, Dr. Steve Hall is a dear friend of mine, and we have some videos that we're going to share with you with all of that also. But he has what he walked through, and we're going to include his practices within there. On this sheet of paper, it will also be a whole plan to walk you through how the plan acts.
Okay.
And then we're going to give you, in the process of that, what does it mean about Sabbath? How do you pray? How do you work through the prayer? It gives an explanation. It'll also walk through this opportunity with soul exercises. We exercise our body, but do we exercise our soul?
That's some great food for thought, Bishop. I'm probably not the best on exercising my body.
Right.
I can run from the couch to the refrigerator to the, right now in our pantry, we have a little container of Reese's peanut butter cups.
Oh boy.
I can run to that. Physically, I need to work on it, but thinking of exercises for my soul, that's going to be very beneficial.
I think if we don't do that, and if we don't get into that process, because we get tired and weary, that the bottom line is people shame us into busyness.
Yes. Yes.
How are you? Man, we're busy. We're just busy. And we get so busy with busy that we forget about really what we're doing. So the old statement is true. We're so busy with the work of God, we forget the God of the work.
Yes.
And if the God of the work is not residing within us, and we find ourselves ministering out of exhaustion,
Oh, yes.
rather than ministering out of rest in Him, then we can't effectively minister to our people like we need to minister to them.
We confuse our relationship with God is not our work for God. And that gets confused so often with us as ministers. We think we're okay. Well, we're working for the church. We're preparing sermons. We're doing these things. But that's the work. But what about that relationship?
Right. We live here at Barnett Reservoir, here where the state office is. It's interesting what a reservoir is that a reservoir receives and then gives out.
Yes.
Well, a few weeks ago we had all this rain and the reservoir was muddy. Well, when you go to the spillway where it's coming out, it's muddy water coming out. So what's coming in is going to come out. Well, if we're not careful and we don't take care of our soul,
yes,
and we receive from Him fresh water, the living water,
absolutely,
then we're giving out muddy water. We're giving out what we have been pressured all week long with, all month long, all quarter long, all year long. And so that's why a lot of pastors, when you listen to them preach, you hear bitterness coming out. You hear anger coming out. You hear anguish coming out rather than life-giving flow to the people that they're supposed to be ministering to. And I think it all comes down because we haven't properly prepared.
That is so true. I know sometimes I've preached like that a time or two, and you're right. that's what I was on the inside, and what's on the inside is going to come out like that. That's very good, Bishop.
But I've preached mad one time. Promise to never do that again. But I was tired and weary, and going back to the 5 things that we talked about last time with New Off.
Yes, sir.
That I'm the pastor that does everything. And my wife and I and one other couple had to clean everything up from Christmas, and nobody else was helping. We basically did all the setup work too. And I made a statement one morning. I said, if that ever happens again, we'll never celebrate Christmas again. And so I had people in the congregation looking at me like, oh, man. And one wise man in the church, and I said a few other things I shouldn't have had. And he said to me at our Wednesday night dinner, he said, Pastor, what you said was not wrong. How you said it came across difficult. And my daughter, who was in college, came back that day and made the statement, I think Pastor's upset. And that hit me. And that's the last time I did that, because then I realized my soul wasn't healthy because I was tired. I was not speaking, preaching, ministering from God. I was doing it what I thought for God, and got weary.
Absolutely. Wow.
So I think, today we'll walk through those areas and see. And Peter Scazzaro has an incredible work on soul health. And we're going to start putting those information books that you can read for that. And I think next time we'll talk about Sabbath.
Oh, that'll be great.
And sabbatical. And Sabbath, on your Sabbath day is not Sunday.
No, it's not.
And Sabbath day is not necessarily just playing golf or fishing or taking a vacation day. No, we're talking a day where we center ourselves back into the presence of the Lord. He said, keep the Sabbath day and make it
holy.
What are we doing in our lives to be holy before the Lord and to promote holiness with others? That's
good, Bishop. That's good.
So if you were to take what we've talked about today and share that with the youth that you're dealing with on the video sessions, and when you're preaching areas, what are some things that you think would be key of what we talked about for them to remember today?
Some key things, I would say the first thing is you've got to, as elementary or Sunday school as it would sound, is to always continue to focus on your relationship with the Lord. I know that may sound elementary, but to keep it in proper perspective of that relationship versus working for the Lord, of working from the Lord instead of, we work for the Lord, but make sure our priorities are in order, that we're focusing on Him, and that we are first right with the Lord, so that we're not putting out, as you said, muddy water. And because even in youth ministry, it can be difficult of juggling. You've got kids with travel ball, and why aren't my numbers down? Now they're visiting the church down the road that has these other activities, or this school activity is keeping them out. And it's easy to get bitter, frustrated about that. And now we're going to do a sermon series on priorities, bless God. And it comes across more mad and off-putting. And so keeping that in line with the Lord, keeping that myself vertically okay, so then I can work on the horizontal a little bit better. So I think that would be the good thing, because that even does tie in with seeing this as a journey that we're on, instead of just we've had a phenomenal service at camp meeting, or went to a conference somewhere at Winterfest and really received a touch. Yes, we need those moments. We need those times that we are energized, that we are good, but making sure I'm getting that weekly, that I'm spending time with the Lord daily, and I am getting recharged so that I can be effective, so my soul is healthy, so that I can effectively minister.
I think part of it is we've not learned how to train ourselves. And the Apostle Paul talks to us about training.
Oh, yes.
And so, we're running this race. Well, you just don't pick up and run a race unless you've trained for that race.
That's right.
And if we can't train our young people now, because they've not been trained, we've not been trained about what we talked, the daily distraction, weekly diversion,
Yes.
quarterly disconnect, and annual abandonment, that has nothing to do with vacation time, because that wears us out, but presence time.
Yes.
Dwelling in His presence. Well, we're thankful that we've had the opportunity to share a little bit with you today on soul health. And this Servecast serves to serve you, not just a play on words. We care about you. We love you. We want you to be healthy. And we want your soul to be healthy so you can minister from God, for God, to the people. We just want to let you know that we love you. We care for you. Mississippi, we're moving forward.